Hello, everyone. We will start in just a moment. We need to come into the room and get settled and come into our bodies so we can receive all the information. So let's take a really big breath. Hold it for a bit. And let it go. Slowly let it go. Another breath. Let it go. Slowly feel yourself sink into your body. And one more. Let it go. So much more relaxed. We are ready to begin. We are so pleased you're here and we've waited for you your entire lives. And today you will understand that more. We know that we've said that so many times and many of you wondered, what did we mean? And those of you who are hearing us for the first time will ask the same question, but you will absolutely know today because we saved this day for you, you see. This morning we had Roger, we awakened him quite early to have him find a message that we wanted you all to see, and it was called the butterfly, because that's who you are. You are all butterflies. You've been in these cocoons of your spiritual selves, and you came into the world to evolve and blossom and fly now. And you meant to do it now because you knew that it would be the best time for you to do that on your evolutionary journey so you could help your world evolve. That's why you're here. That's why you exist. Now, let's give you the idea so you can understand this. We've given you several messages over the years where we said, let's give you a fairy tale, because that's how it seems to most of you. You think that it's all being made up. Well, it is, but you're the ones who are making it up. You have so much power, ability, potential, as we've used so many times, because we wanted you to understand that, because it's never fulfilled until you begin to move on it. And so you pick certain times to come into the world where you knew the conditions would be just perfect for you to evolve. Okay, let us explain that in a way that you will understand it. You are eternal spiritual beings. You have always existed. Your soul has always existed. You incarnate into physical form, into third dimension, as many call it, to this world. You do it at a particular time where it would first serve your evolutionary journey. Your evolutionary journey is different than anyone else's. It's only connected to you. It's comprised of everything that your life has given you, all of it. It was perfect. Now, we gave you that message that you see on the screen in 2012 because many of you don't believe that could have happened. Just as you didn't believe that you have these enormous talents and gifts that you could give to the world and cause your world to be better, but also, more importantly, your life. Everything that we have given you has been to cause you, to allow you to understand how powerful you are and to work through your limitations and restrictions. When we gave you our work in 2012, as we've told you, it's called Your Life Operating Instructions because it's about your life, you, the individual, your journey, your evolutionary journey. It is different, but it is magnificent if you decide to move through it. You all come in with these restrictions, these limitations, things you think you can't do or you don't have the ability. It's never true, but you're using this lifetime to experience that, to know who you are. None of this is accidental. And we gave you the information in 2012 because we knew that this time would be challenging for many of you. And everything that you're seeing occurring in your world, we told you would happen. We said that this would occur, and we told you the United States would lead the way, which is why we wanted to do our session today, because we knew this would be the perfect day, because you will move into a new phase of your restructuring tomorrow, meaning that you're going to be awakened to more of your ideas, your beliefs, what you know to be true about your life, about your world, but it's about you, your individual journey. Now, the purpose of what we gave you was to cause each of you to become empowered, meaning that you're going to start to understand, appreciate, and love yourselves. That's it. Because see, when you have that, your world changes. And we knew that it'd be helpful for you to do this. Now, again, you are human because you don't change easily. You don't even believe things right away. You think, no, couldn't be happening. We had a discussion this morning where Roger was speaking to a friend, and he was trying to say what we were going to speak on today, except never knows that completely because we surprise him as we always do. However, we did say we were going to mention tragedies because we said that doesn't happen. And this friend said, no, well, what do you say about this thing happening? What do you say about that horrible thing that happened? We said it wasn't a tragedy. You just interpreted it that way because that's how it felt to you at the time it was occurring. But then you come out of it and you know something. You've learned something, and now you evolve. And as you evolve, you put that energy, your essence into the world, and your world evolves. The problem that you each have is that you don't understand how powerful you are. You don't understand the ability that you hold within you. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. Anything that you're doing in your life, that thing that's in front of you, what you've been working on forever was supposed to be actualized and experienced in this lifetime. And more of you are coming to understand that now, and you're doing it at this period, because if you do, then your world becomes much better. We've told you everything that we've given you over the last more than a year now that we've given you, you've seen show up in your world. We asked you to stop burning down your planet. None of you, you didn't listen really well. And so now you're looking at your world and you're wondering, why are people dying in these countries? Because it's too hot. We said that was going to occur if more of you didn't come together and understand who you are. And understanding who you are means that you decide to love yourself. That's all. You decide to love yourself. You decide to let go of your ideas about where you were. Now, the tragedy, we know that each of you have had your experiences. You've had your life experience, and you've gone through so many challenging things. You have lost people. People have died. You've had tragedies. You've lost things. You've experienced all sorts of things that you thought, is this ever going to end? That's what you felt. Yes, it will. When you decide to own who you are, that's all. Each of you, but we need more. You see, it has to be more people who are doing it. So we gave Roger the crazy idea. We said we gave you something that could help more people evolve and come to know who they are and experience this magnificent life. And over time, you would see your world begin to shift and change. And yes, that crazy thing that you each said, I'm going to change the world. You have the ability to do that, but you just don't allow yourself to believe it. You didn't allow yourself to believe what we were telling you about. We gave you everything in 2012 that made no sense to you. And we even used dates. And if you go back and look at our messages, you will see that we use specific dates because you each come in with different abilities that you will develop. And sometimes using strange synchronicities, as you call them, at times get you to pay attention. So when you see things, you have to question, how did that happen? How did that come about? You live in a universe that is divinely constructed to cause you all to evolve if you listen to it. Now, we will say that that doesn't always happen. You've lost civilizations, as we said before, and you're at the place now in your world where you could do it again if you chose to. If more people did not own who they were, just like you, then things would go awry. You would lose the civilization, your planet. Now, we also told you that we said that you're going to be surprised when you start seeing, oh, things exist in other universes, in other galaxies. And just last week, you had the first photos from your brand new telescope that you could see things into your universe that you could never see before. It is the same for you. Many of you have been surprised during this period because you're wondering, how is all of this occurring? Why are all these events happening all together? They're happening because your planet needed a change. It needed a shift in its trajectory, a shift in the balance. You are alive because we know that you're going to do something that is going to be for the good of all. And all you have to do is just believe in yourself. And that's been the trouble. That's been the problem. You haven't trusted who you were. That's all. And we send you Roger to show you someone else who just didn't believe that he had all of this. And we are saying, yes, you do. Now, we pulled some things together. We want you to understand what's happening at this particular period in your world, this restructuring, as we've called it. It's because things needed to go in a different direction. This is why we keep talking about money. You see, months ago, longer than that, we told you that you usually, as humans, you come into the world and you struggle with things to evolve. And the things that you typically struggle with and try to hold in some sort of power are money, love, power, and control. That's it. That's what you're doing. But to see, you didn't understand that what you were trying to do is assimilate, to reconcile, to bring those things together within you. You see, it's within you, because you're creating your world. We know that the illusion looks like everything is happening out there. No, it's happening within you. This is your life. You're creating it, and the manner in which you choose to create it will affect your world. That's the only way that things evolve. It's gone on as long as mankind has existed on the physical plane, on the earth. There are other universes. We told Roger, don't go there yet, because you don't need to like really expand yourself, but just know, don't be so surprised that things are being discovered that you didn't know. And it is the same in your life. We want you to understand this. We kept having Roger doubt what he had and talking about it all the time, because we wanted you to be awakened to how you have doubted yourself. And you have so much. You have the ability to create miracles in your life and in the world, if you would accept that. So we planned something else for Roger. He struggled with this program he kept talking about, how much am I going to charge for it? Because he could see that this is something that, if I could come out like this, what could other people do if they did it? And what would that do to our world? But that was too big for him to accept, you see. And so he thought maybe he could get away with not talking about it, or maybe he could keep himself small. You know, you love that. We love that, using that one. Stop playing small. We've given him that, and just like we're giving it to you right now, because many of you, that's what you've been doing. You've been playing small because you can't imagine that you are that powerful, and yet you are. You're that powerful to be able, none of you have anything less than any other human that was born. None of you. But you don't always decide that you're going to embrace it, that you're going to believe it, that you're going to trust it, and that you're going to go with it. So what we did the other day, we had Roger see something that would come about. He thought he was going to get out of this. You see, many of you think you'll get out of this in some easy way. You didn't want that. You wanted to evolve. You wanted to expand. So the tragedies that you are seeing, that you experienced in your life, were helping you to do that. So we had Roger see something the other day. Someone came on and made him an offer of all of this money that they were going to give him to sell some of his work, actually. And that's what it was going to be. And he thought, okay, well, that seems great, but I don't know if that's supposed to be it. He knows all the time. But he went along with it. But then what he discovered was it was just another scam. It was just something that didn't make sense. But it was beyond that, see, because he knew, just like you know, he knew that he wasn't going to get some truckload of money that was just going to fall on him without him doing the work of expanding. And that means that you decide to understand your worth and value. And you only do that when you consciously move through the restrictions and limitations that have existed within you. And you all have them. It's not possible for you not to have them, because you came in to release them. You came in to release them. And especially this time in your world, you came in to do it because this restructuring is generational, meaning that you have to let go of those old beliefs that your ancestors, your parents, and all of those who came before carried, so that you can create a new world. We've told you over and over again that you are here to usher in a new world. And the way that you do that is that when you usher in a new you have to let go of your limiting beliefs, what you thought about yourself before, what you thought you couldn't do. None of that is true. And so then Roger, he does this other thing, which is so wonderful. He knew that when he saw that this was some sort of scam, he said, I have to protect the world. And so now he's working with the companies that were involved in this so that he can expose this to everyone else, which has been his entire life. That's all that you each have paths that you're meant to follow. You don't always trust them. And we've talked about this and we've used Roger so much because he knows that we gave him the dream in 2005 that he mysteriously put in a closet so that he wouldn't see it. You've done that too. This is why we gave you the butterfly this morning. You see, we want you to understand that's okay. There are times in your evolutionary journey where you're meant to be in that cocoon for a while so that you can assimilate all the wisdom and knowledge that you have gained. And it's ancient. You have it from so long ago. You don't know that all the time, but you do. You have access to everything, which is why we gave you infinite intelligence as our first message in January 1st of 2012, to get you to understand you all have it. No one has more than you. It's just about how much are you going to accept? How much are you going to believe? How much are you going to let come through? And so part of this shift that's happening, this restructuring, is wealth and income inequality. You have left far too many people in your world starving to death because you've allowed the ones who have all the money to hold on to it because it gave them a sense of power, you see, and power is equal. Now, we can speak to you because we know who you are. You are people who came in to offer something different. You came in, and we know that if you became wealthy, that you would do something different. You would make other people feel better. You would make other people understand their worth and value, and your world would start to change, and you would no longer have wars. We told you that again as well. And in 2012, we knew this was coming. You wonder how that's happening. Well, you don't. You live in human form, and in this dimension, this third dimension is what's it's called, so you can all relate to that. You live in this dimension where you are operating on linear time, meaning you think things have to happen in this way, sequentially, one thing after the other. That never occurs because everything is happening all at once. Some of your scientists have given you that many, many years ago, and especially your physicists who have understood this on a much deeper level now. And so, and there's still more that's being discovered. We had last week, as we spoke about, there are new particles that were being shown. And then when you start understanding your quantum mechanics, you will see how you're creating your life and how you are creating the world. You each are here to add your essence to the world, and depending on who does it, you will have the new world that you're all going to exist in. That's what's going to happen. Now, what we mean by that is that there are several people who come into this who do not have the awareness that you do, who are just offering you contrast, let's say. We've talked about this often. We said they are the others, and the others are everyone who doesn't agree with you on whatever that might be. That's going to come up, especially after tomorrow, and you'll hear so much more of it, but understand that you are meant in this time to own who you are, own your beliefs, and cause them to be powerful. Because again, we know that if you understand that you didn't do anything wrong and you never screwed up anything, that you would start to love yourself, and then you're going to start doing that to everyone else. That's what happens. That's how your world always evolves. You come in to the world with your individual paths, and you put them all together. And what you're meant to do as humans, if you're going to cause your society to sustain itself and to evolve, then what you do is you put them together. And then you come up with something, oh, this sustains human life in a much better way. And now we have new technology, we have new scientific understanding that we can create even more. Each of you will do that when you start to understand who you are, and you stop letting go of what you thought you did wrong. Now, if you didn't understand, and you'll get this eventually, and those of you who are in our program understand this quite well, every term we used was talking about your physical life experience. Because some of you think we don't know, we're not sure, but it seems like you think you're going to live forever. No, you don't. You come in at a specific time in your evolutionary journey that is right for you so that you can move through something. We don't know what it is exactly for you, but it is something that you did not believe about yourself, something that you did not allow yourself to have, and it's connected generationally. Now, part of the thing, you won't all have the same things happening. Now, we talked about money in terms with Roger because he was supposed to bring this up because that's an issue for him, which has been longstanding because that's been generational within his family, within his race that he chose this time in his lifetime to understand. And so he sees that as being really unequal, and he wants to do something about it, but he still had difficulty asking for the money that he knew he could command for what he had to offer. And we said, you can't do that anymore. That's why you're not going to win the lottery. You're not, that's going to be meaningless. That doesn't mean anything. Money is just energy. Everything is energy. Your world is energy. Your life is created by the way you manifest and the way you utilize your particular energy. And what we gave you before was focused attention, meaning that you can create whatever you desire if you place your focused attention on that and keep going for it. That's all. Now, if it's not right for you, it'll change. But what we did for you, and when we gave you the work, and we want you to understand this because some of you have missed this completely. But what we did is we gave you things to cause you to question yourselves. That's what the entire program is, asking you questions so that you go inside and find that part of you that is connected to all that is, that's connected to God, that's connected to the universe, Gaia, whatever you say it is for you, you are all connected. And you spend your lifetimes, we meant that purposely, you spend all of your lifetimes coming to know that a bit more. We said this time you're going to work with women a lot more because that's the place where your world, your universe actually is moving into more now, where that feminine energy, the females need to be acknowledged and brought to the fore. You do that every civilization, but now you've gone so far off track, which is why we said the United States would lead the way, because they did more to now start to control women again. It's just about control. You have to ask yourself certain questions of why you might create certain laws, why you might believe in certain rules. Is it to cause freedom for more of you, or is it cause restrictions so some of you feel more powerful? That's all. That's the only question you have to ask yourself, and you will see which one you will be for. This is why we said you will choose. We said all the events that are coming up in your world will cause you to choose. And the choice that you have to make is choosing yourself. We know that's challenging because you've had these lives, we said, that you have moved through where you saw things and you think this can't be right. I'm a terrible person. I'm something horrible. No. You were moving through everything that your entire lineage, your soul family had experienced, but you are here now because you were that butterfly, you see. You were that butterfly that knew that if you would let go of your restrictions, you would fly. And if you start to fly, you're going to pollinate all the other things around in your world, and you're going to see a far different world. We know that sounds like utopia, but you could have it, but not enough of you will ever believe that. But you could have it, but you could experience it in your life. Our purpose was to get you to the place where you could be like Roger. We're saying that because it took us so long to get him here, where you could look at your world and understand things from a higher vantage point, where you could see, okay, I see all the tragedies. As his friend this morning didn't understand how we could say that. And we said, because you interpret things, you label things as being tragedy, only to see later in your hindsight, as you look back or in your life, you look back and you say, oh, this is what caused me to become better. This is what caused me to move out of my way and start to own who I am, because that's the only reason I'm alive. That's the only reason any of you are alive, is to experience a magnificent life full of prosperity, abundance, and everything that you want, and joy and happiness and love. That is all. And the manner in which you get there is to be willing to move through all of your junk, and it's all yours. It is all yours. But you wanted it. Please understand this. If you've had, some of you, we know you have had this, so we're going to talk about it. When you have gone through those times where you feel like, I'm just going to give up. This is just not worth it. I'm just not ready to be here. I just can't go on. I don't know how I'm going to survive. No, that just means that you have an awareness of a world that's so much better. That's all. You have an awareness of your life that is so much better. And you're given those things so that you can decide to move through them and create that life, to manifest that life, because you have that ability. You all do. And there's things that are coming up now. We wanted to say this because even in your families and friends, you're going to see that some of that change. Some of your friends may leave you as you start owning who you are, but that's okay. You each have your individual paths, and you come in together with one another if they serve your journey, your evolutionary journey. And sometimes they will for a period of time, but then they change. And now you've gotten that information, We don't like using lessons because many of you think that you're learning something and you're not really learning, you're remembering. That's all. When we talk to you, when we speak to you, you're just hitting on certain things because you've had that awareness in your consciousness. Your higher self has always had that, but we just say it so you can hear it. That's what you each do. But if you don't understand that you have taken that in, that you have developed that, it becomes kind of useless using it in your physical world. And what we mean by that is using it in your world that is made up of all these material and physical things. You're not that, you're a spiritual being. So, but you use, as we've told you, we gave you that in 2012, you use everything physical to cause your soul to expand. That's all. That is evolution. And that's what you're doing, and that's what your world is doing. Now, it looks terrible. We understand that, which is why, again, we wanted to prepare you so you would be ready. That's why we gave you our work, you see, to move through all of this. Now, none of you know what you have when you are born. You do not know what you have, and you never discover it unless you're willing to step into it and go through it. But so many times your fear and doubt have held you back. This is why we had Roger write the book on fear. And it's also why we had him kept talking about his doubt, which was so uncomfortable for him to do. He says, oh, they're going to think I'm really out of my mind. No, you all do the same thing. It's okay. You're meant to do that because as you live this life, you have experiences, you move through things, and you discover more of who you are. Now, you may have had a different journey where you're choosing something else, where you're choosing, I'm going to keep thinking things are terrible. Now, we can say that because we know that's not you, because you wouldn't be listening to us if it were. There are all those others, as we said, who would never hear us, who would never come to this sort of information, but you did. And you're listening to it now because you wanted to hear the part of you, that essence, that you want to hear something that would cause you to believe in yourself much, much more. And that's all we've been doing this entire time. We've actually done it much longer. We've done it for many decades in your human terms in this lifetime of Rogers, but it doesn't matter. Just in these last few years, you can see that we've given you everything to help you move through this period so that you come to loving yourself. That's all. And that you give yourself everything that you want. So anyway, when the whole thing happened with the falling apart of this magical deal that Roger was going to have, he knew that gave him more permission, you see, to now say, no, I'm changing the price now. I need to have more because I deserve it. We hope you heard that because you do. You deserve so much more in your life. And so you have to let go of your idea of suffering and pain and poverty consciousness and all of those things, all those other ideas which you have brought into the world from your previous lives, let's say, and from all of those who came before your particular lineage. You each have them and they're different. But now you're moving into this place where there's an enormous opportunity for you to change because there are energies going on in your world, and there'll be so many more of them coming about, which none of you have seen before. That's why we keep speaking about it. And so, but as they come up, it will cause you to look within and decide, I'm going to do something now. I'm going to make a difference in whatever way that is. Now, the other thing, we want to say this. Some of you think that what you're doing is not making that much of a difference, and that is where you are wrong. You have not understood the power of energy because that's all that there is. So if you're working on something, your little creation, let's just go here. You're working on your little creation. You're thinking, this isn't going to help anyone, what I'm doing here. Except while you're working on that creation, guess what you're doing? You're loving yourself. And you're putting out some energy that is just going into the ethers, that's just going into the world, and it's causing changes to happen because somebody else is going to pick up, they're going to feel that energetically. They're going to pick up your loving yourself, and they're going to say, oh, maybe I can do that too. You see, so now you're sitting at home working on whatever thing that you're doing while you're in that presence of yourself and loving yourself is making an enormous difference. And the more of you who do that, instead of going out and fighting with everyone else, you will create a far different world and you'll create a far different life for yourself. So that's what we said. That was the last part of the conversation Roger had with his friend this morning. And he said to them, well, I'm going to go on and thinking, you can think that everything's a tragedy, everything's falling apart, because that's a miserable way to live. I'm going to go on thinking in my fairy tale like way that no, I have the ability to create something more if I decide to stop judging myself and get out of the way and own who I am. That is the work that we gave all of you, because that's why you're here. That's why you exist in this world. And you must let go of your self-judgment, because nothing of a physical nature has anything to do with your soul. We said you only use these things to move through your restrictions. Now, many of you have also felt very strange bodily things happening. We've talked about this before, and that is an energetic shift that is going on the planet. It's not just you. And so some of you are much more sensitive than others. And you, in your journey, you might have had certain things that you couldn't handle before, that you couldn't move over. And so that's why you are having particular physical symptoms moving on. We've told you about Rogers. He's had all of them in the first part of his life, so you could let go of them now. And then we had something else happen yesterday, because we'd like to give you examples, because your limitations only exist in your thinking. His doctor called him yesterday. He wasn't expecting this, but this was his urologist. See, men have this thing, you physical men have this thing about your prostate, because you're worried about that. And especially when you get to be Roger's age, you start looking at this a bit more. And he wasn't concerned, but he had completely forgotten about the test that he took. And his doctor said, well, yeah, your PSA went down. I don't know how that happened. Right? You thought, well, yeah, I know how that happened. I decided to start owning more of myself, and so I can reverse anything. Wow. Oh, did that work? Yes. You each could do that, but it takes time. It takes your patience, and it takes your persistence with getting through anything. Again, that's why we keep talking about it in the information that we gave you, in the work that we gave you in 2012. We wanted you to be patient with yourself and patient with your world, because you're very slow at changing. You're very slow at accepting certain things, but it's okay. When you understand your chemistry, your neuroscience, that is, you will also understand why we gave you our work in the way that we did, because we knew you would only accept some of it at a time. But as you accept more, your consciousness expands, your awareness expands, and you can believe more. You can see the bigger picture. Many of you have heard that, talking about the bigger picture. What does that mean? The bigger picture is, and what this whole entire period is, and what we gave you, is that you're moving through a time to create a world that you'd all want to live in, that would be more inclusive, that would be more loving, that would care about your planet a lot more than you have in the past. That's all. But because it had gone so off track for a while, the universe said, we're going to just do a little configuration here and move things around. And that's why we started interpreting and calling it a restructuring. You'll find many others who are calling it something different, who will say, it's a battle between good and evil, darkness and lightness. And that on a level is true, but that's subjective, because it means how you personally interpret those words. We don't like using words that give you this idea that some of you are better or worse than another, because it's not true. You're just expressing something, whatever lifetime you happen to be living. That's all. And when you each express what is within you, what is on your path, it's going to, one, cause you to evolve in your evolutionary journey, whatever that is. Okay. Sometimes those others who are not going to be here, they're going to look at things and they're going to say, oh, wow, I did all these terrible things and now I have to change that. And so next time I come back, I'm going to do something a little bit different. We know that that's way out there, but that is what happens to a degree. So what you're going through now was purposeful for you and for your world. Now, you don't die. We had to keep bringing that up when we gave you our work, and that's why we kept using physical life experience, because the thing that many of you are afraid of, and you'll be afraid of it a little bit more because you're going to have more COVID coming up, and it's going to cause people to fight again and go through all of that. But we told you, again, probably a year ago, more than that, we've written about it, that it's not supposed to cause you to be afraid. It's supposed to cause you to become stronger, to figure, how can I strengthen this physical body that I'm using for a while as I'm on the earth? How can I strengthen it to move beyond all of this and not be, and that's always going to be you deciding to own more of who you are. You don't have physical illnesses or diseases come up in your life unless they were connected to something about you from this spiritual, emotional level that you wanted to move through to cause healing to happen in your physical body, but that just translates into your soul, you see. And you've all heard them, well, not all, many of you have tried to avoid some of these things. However, but if you've listened to people who have had near-death experiences, as you call them, but they're physically gone. They've left their bodies, and it's documented with evidence, and they leave and they say, and they come back somehow miraculously, and they say, oh, I didn't want to come back. It was so much better where I was. We just love using things like that because most of you don't look at it because you really are afraid of death, except we will tell you it's not just what you think, but you are here to experience this life in physical form so that you're not afraid of that. And the work that we gave you was to cause you to change your mind, because that's the only place you live. You live in your perspective. You live in how you choose to interpret things. And when you can change that, you create a completely different life for yourself. And yes, it takes time. And it takes your willingness to do it. And some of you are just too impatient. We love it when we see people who will pop on our things for a moment. They'll hear something and go, oh, wait a minute. No, we got to run now. That's too much. And then we recently told Roger we wanted him to change the name. We'll start using the name Your Last Development Program. And we're going to talk about that because you're all doing the same thing. It just depends on where you're going to do it, how much you want to pay for it, how are you going to go. It doesn't matter what it is. You're doing the same thing. Doesn't matter what coach you go to, what program, what college you might, degree you might have, any of it. It all is the same thing. You're looking at yourself and you're deciding, can I do this? Do I have that ability? Do I have that drive? Well, yeah, I do, because I'm human and I have all these things, but I'm going to decide in this moment to develop whatever I need to cause the next life of my life, part of my life to manifest in a way that I want it. That's really all, that's all you're doing. And sometimes you'll make choices and you'll move through things and you'll think, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't what I wanted. And as we told you in the program, that was good. Because we said you didn't make a mistake. You were just finding your way, you see. But if you interpret it as being a mistake and you failed in some way, then you become a failure who always makes mistakes. That's never true. Everything that you have done is for your development, you see. And this is why we said this is the last one. Why would you need something else? Because you're going to keep doing the same thing. You're going to keep hearing information, hoping that it will settle in and you'll believe it. But you don't typically do that when you're just listening to other people. This is why we had you do the work. And this is why we wanted you to do it by yourself. Because we wanted you to have this intimate experience with who you are, because you're brilliant beings. And you're here with all of this wealth of information that you're just waiting for it to come through. And this is the time that you meant to do it. And we're always going to help you accomplish that, which is why we gave you the butterfly this morning, because you are ready to come out of that cocoon. You are ready to fly, and you're going to be beautiful as you're doing it. And that's what starts to happen. However, we did this today. Please remember this. We did this today because you will have different energies moving through your world over the next several months. As we said, this is probably another year of this transition, which is why we wanted to work with more of you during this time, because we know that strength comes in numbers, and when you feeling this camaraderie, and we love that someone gave us that information yesterday, saying how valuable the weekly call, just to be in the presence of others, that was so valuable because it gave them the strength to keep going. And we're saying that because we know that this period is really challenging for so many of you. And so many of you have been afraid, you've been uncertain, you're worried about what's going to happen in your life personally. And now you're thinking about, oh, a recession's coming. You don't have to have a recession, because you create everything collectively. So if more of you start owning your worth, why would you have to do that? Because you're going to put that into the world, you see. And this is why we said, Roger knew. It was so funny because he knew right away when that other thing wasn't happening. He said, nope, you're not getting away with it that easily. You're not getting out of it. We've given you many of these things over the years, but we gave you one where we said, you'll never get out of this alive. And we want you to hear this because this is about you. There's something that you know you were meant to do, that you wanted to experience in your life, that you wanted to achieve, that is still sitting in on your heart. It is still there. And it is, you have now more available energy granted to you by the universe that you could use to cause that to manifest. If you decide to do a deep dive into who you are. That's all it is, because you have within you the ability, the magnificence, the talent, the skills to manifest any life that you want, anything. And that's what's going to start showing up for you. Now, again, it's not going to happen overnight. It takes time. The reason, as we explained to Roger, we're going to give you this. He's not talked about this, but we want him to. The reason that we said we gave you everything in 2012 is because it was a time when your world was going through a change. Many events, many things happened that you had these, we love calling them issues, that you collectively as a society needed to move through. Many of them had their genesis that showed up in 2012, but they had been going on for much, much longer than that. They've existed throughout your entire history, throughout the history of your planet. You just happened to chose a time to be alive, to incarnate this time, to cause a bigger shift to happen in your evolution and that of your world. And the more of you who do that, we're going to have a world that you're really going to love. We know it's hard for you to see that now, but we can see it very clearly. But we only see it if each of you get out of the way and do what you're supposed to do. And that's including Roger. He just held back and didn't want to do this, as we've talked about so often, because we want you to understand that you've done the same thing. And now is the time that needs to change. And we planned all of this to put it together, have all these events showing up so that you would say, oh, wait a minute, maybe I am connected. Maybe my life makes sense. Maybe all the things that I have gone through were to bring me to this point in my life where I could feel how powerful I am, where I could start to notice it, where I could start to bring it in and allow my life to expand and then give that to the world. You each are doing that. All of you. And in any kind of doubt that you've had, any kind of fear, all of that, it's good. We told you that was going to happen. We gave you so much of it. Now, the other thing we want you to understand, you're going to, as you move through this next period, you're going to start to, we did this months ago where we put together a little collection of the messages we gave you in 2012 that all were about blame. See, because what happens when you go through something stressful, your first inclination to stop, to take this responsibility away from yourself, to try to get rid of it, we should say, you will start to blame everyone else. And you do that individually, and you do that in your world, and you do that in your countries, and in your governments, and in your leaders. You will see them all blaming one another for what's happening, what's occurring in your world. You'll see them all doing that, but you can't do that. You can't do that if you want to become your full self, you see. Because when you're starting to use blame for anything and you're not taking responsibility for your life, you also don't have any power. You can't change anything because it's somebody else's fault. It's always out there. You can't do anything about it. That's what happens. And so that's why we gave you all of those messages, because we knew that they would be coming up during this period, because it's a big change that none of you have experienced. None of you have been through this. And even yesterday, you could see that there were so many heat records broken. And some of you are still denying that you have any effect on that. Some of you in your governments and your leaders and all that, they say, no, this isn't happening. And you're seeing it right in front of you. You've done the same thing in your life. You've looked at things that you've seen about yourself, or you've been given clues or guidance that your higher self has given you about what you're meant to do. And then you doubted it. You said, no, this can't be important. And then you end up with global warming. In yourselves, you see, you end up with it in your life and then in your world. That's what's going on. Now, as each of you are developing, you have so many things that may be coming about now. And we're using Roger as the example because he first of all didn't want to do what he's doing right now. Didn't want to do it because he thought, oh, he's going to be judged. It's going to be too strained. And then he didn't understand how it was happening. He didn't understand why he was able to communicate and get all this information and interpret it so quickly and give it back to all of you, where you can probably understand it a bit more than you could before. He couldn't understand that. You are doing the same thing. That's why you're here at this period. You're uncovering things about yourself that you did not know existed and that you didn't imagine that you possess, but you do. And you have so much power. We're so happy that we're able to help you recognize that and bring it forth, because that is the thing that will save your planet. And we want you to understand that. And we're not being grandiose. We're not doing that. No, we're just speaking reality. And as you study your science, you will understand that more of your scientists and physicists are understanding it more and giving you that information. But if you don't make yourself available to it, it means little to you. However, we keep having Roger see it so that he can bring it back for all of you, which is why he created what he did. But we want to say that you are existing at this time in your life to create something magnificent. All you have to do is start to believe that and understand that you are changing your old limiting beliefs. We're going to give you the process that we have moved you all through in our work, is that you come in with a limiting idea about who you think you are or what you think you might achieve. Then you have experiences, maybe will wake you up to that. But then you have to make a decision. Am I going to believe it? Am I going to use the power of my own thinking to manifest that? Because that's where everything is created. You don't create anything from outside there. You create it from inside. You create it from your thinking, from your thoughts. It's the only thing that's real. And so then you have these opportunities where you'll decide, and it's in the moment, you decide, okay, this is who I am now. I'm going to start to embrace it. I know I'm different. I know I've evolved. And then you start to live there for a little while, you see? Now you're this new person. You're living in this dimension. It's a little bit different than your 3D dimension. It's a little bit higher. Some people call it 4. We'll use that. But now you're starting to see, okay, wait a minute, certain things are connected. I am understanding more now, but you're not done. There's still going to be more. There's some of you who will reach places where you can see beyond this world. You can see other universes. Basically, you can interact with other star beings and all of that. That happens. It may not be what you're doing, but it's just about you understanding that your path is perfect. You were given everything to create a magnificent life, even though you may have judged it, and that's with your labels. You may have judged it as being bad, wrong, or something like that. And it's never that, which was the entire point of the work that we gave you. You were born to be an authentic person. This is why we kept using that. We had Roger use that, and we had him create something which was called How to Become Your Authentic Self. And then we had him talk about why would you want to do that, you see? Why would you want to? And it takes a challenge. It's a challenge, it takes some work. But the reason that you want to do that is because if you become your authentic self, you have everything that you want. You would never lack for anything, never, because the universe would reward you for that. You see, because we wanted things to be different. We wanted different people to come into the world so that you could cause things to evolve and become more. But you can only do that when you decide to accept it within yourself first. So that's where we began, by giving you a tool that you could use to come to loving your authentic self, because now you understand that it was perfect and everything about you, including your physical appearance. That's the one that many of you don't understand, but your physical appearance is so perfect. And that's why we love that you brought it into the world at this point in the trajectory of your world, so you could cause things to get so much better when you decide to make yourself understand how much better you are. When you hear that again, it will make sense to you, because we would love for more of you to listen to these. Many of you have not listened to our other recordings, and we just want to point this out because Roger didn't either. He didn't listen to many of them. Then he goes back and he goes, wow, okay, this was pretty shocking. I didn't remember this from before, because he never remembers what we're doing here. Now, yeah, he came out of that one. We're going to explain this. He's very aware of when he is connected with us. And when he slips into himself, because he gets, like you all do, he gets, wait a minute, where am I going? This is a little scary. That's what you each have done. You have so much more that you're going to access now. And that's what is occurring. But anyway, when he is hearing us, he's very clear. He has no fear. He has no doubt. He has none of that. He has no anger. He has nothing, none of that happening. And then he comes back to coming out of this, and then he goes back to living his life, and then he's going to encounter other things. You all do. But now what will happen is that you have a different awareness of what's happening, so you can move through those periods, which you would call struggles or challenges or difficulties. You'll move through them much easier, with greater ease, understanding them, and then they're gone in an instant. Yeah, we gave you that as well. In an instant. We love that message so much. Roger will put it out there again, but because you can change your life and your world in an instant. How long does it take you to change the thought? Well, you can change the thought right there in the instant, but how long does it take you to hold on to it? See, that's the real question that you must ask yourself. Because see, many of you have done this. You will come up with this idea, you come up with something, and then you are loving it and you're following the direction given to you by your higher selves, but then you'll start doubting it. No, that I can't, not me. That's part of your evolutionary journey, and you will make a decision as to whether or not you will continue that behavior or use the available energy that exists in your world now to cause your life to become better and to move through all that old restrictive stuff and become your best self. That's exactly where you are. And this is why we wanted you to see that there are no tragedies in your life. You are not a tragedy. You didn't do anything wrong. You were just moving through your blockages so that you could be alive now, so that you could fly, because you're ready to leave your cocoon. And don't judge yourself for having been in that cocoon, because some of you have hidden yourselves away, thinking if I just stay really quiet, nobody will pay attention to me. That's not what you wanted. So now it's time for you to really embrace this so you can come out and let yourself shine. That's all that it is. And we're going to keep giving you more information. We'll do more of these, but and we're going to be making some changes, as many of you know, with the program, because Roger knows now he's must move this, take it bigger, because you're moving. We don't. Everything that we give you is to cause you to have more belief and trust and all of that. But sometimes it will bring up fear. Understand, sometimes it will bring up the fear, but that is also purposeful, because you're much stronger. You have so much more than any fear you might experience. But it sometimes takes you moving through these experiences to understand that, but then you build a momentum of strength that you get through other things in a much bigger way, which will cause you to become rich, manifest anything that you want, have everything that you want. That's the process. And that is what we gave you. So we wanted you to understand this today, and we wanted you to understand where your life could go and where your world could go if you embrace who you are. That's it. But now what we'd like to do is bring in, if you have any questions, anyone that might be here. We know that many of you will be hearing this later, but if there are those who have questions, who are here now or want some further explanation, we would love to hear from you.
Okay. I am sending the invitations to have you join as panelists so you can ask a question. I'm sending those invitations to you now.
We would like each of you to think about, because this is going to be one of the main issues or challenges or difficulties that you all will move through in your world, because you're trying to come to a reconciliation of your human existence, you see, because what you've done is that you've made women the last ones to achieve that status, to give them status. And so then when that begins to happen, you start fighting against it, and you start creating, as a society, you will create more restrictive rules to hold people back. You've done it with women, you've done it with different races too, and it doesn't matter. You've done it with ethnicities. Because anything you can clump together and direct your anger or your feeling of powerlessness to, you think somehow that's going to make you stronger, and it never does, because you find out as humans that you only are stronger together.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? You can raise your hand, you can unmute and ask, or you can write your question in the chat.
We feel we might have given you too much today.
Or any comments or takeaways. Yeah,
We're quite,
it seems we are
yes,
made a
yes,
point.
we're quite pleased, which means that we've given you so much to think about, and we want all those who hear the recording later to do the same thing, to give yourself some time to listen to this, because you will find yourself in here. And that is what we have been working on. That is the only purpose of any of the work that we have given you throughout this entire time. And we're so pleased that you're here. And give yourself some time, because you will see how things will start to change in your life, and then conversely, it will change in your world as well.
Before we close, it looks like we do have a couple of questions. Brian, you unmuted first, so go ahead, and then Lester, you'll be next.
Oh, I didn't really necessarily have a question. I'm just trying to get the video going. It says,
Oh, right now we have the videos disabled.
oh, okay. So I'm glad it's not me. No, nothing really. Just that I got I've been working with Roger for about a year or so, over a year maybe, and we're singing, and a lot of things have happened. But the weird thing that happened last night was I got a call from someone who I know as associate, saying that she was inspired by what I was doing and wanted to start singing, and how should she go about it. And I suggested Roger, and I gave her some tips. But all I'm saying is that I didn't really expect someone to look at what I'm doing, and be inspired to then decide that that's what they wanted to do. So I guess you never really know when you do what you do. You don't necessarily do it, for me anyway, to do it to make somebody do something. You just do the best of what it is that you're doing, and something comes out of it, and you don't know where it's going to come from. So that was a pleasant surprise. I'm just sharing that experience.
You have done so much, and we're so pleased. You gave us just the perfect example, and you have been the perfect example, and that's why people are reaching out to you. You went through many things in your life were just challenging, and for a while you even thought you were really lost, and you were not even ready to go on, and then you decided, your higher self said, no, you have more, you're going to do more, and then you started doing it. And then as you started doing that, as you started owning and embracing more of who you were, people noticed. Surprisingly, people notice. You all are meant to do that. That's how your world evolves. And you are just such a wonderful example. And we're so pleased that you are adding your gift to the world, and it's going to inspire so many more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Lester, you're next. Lester, you here with us?
Okay, here we go. Unmuted.
There you go.
There. When you keep referring to being your authentic self, how do you know your authentic self? How do you know you're on? I've gone down many paths. I'm in my mid 70s, and I've done, like I'm saying, gone down many different paths. How do you know, or how do you feel that you're being your authentic self? Or is there many authentic selves? You choose any one of them.
Wow. You've given us so much, and we love that. When you don't feel any judgment, when you don't feel any self-judgment, you're being your authentic self. That's all. When you're making any action, when you're doing anything in your life, and you're not holding self-judgment, you're being your authentic self. You each were born with different paths you were meant to follow, which are unique to your evolution, what you wanted to go through in your evolutionary journey, which is connected to your soul, as we've said. But as you do that, it helps so many others as well, which is what we just heard from last person. But you have gone through so much, and you have so much to offer, but also because of that, you have a long history of self-judgment. And so it just takes time for you to continue moving through your self-judgment, but every time you do it, you offer something more, and you've already done it because we've seen it. You've already done it. And you're just not at a place where you think you're done. And that's why you're questioning it. But look at what you've done recently, because we've seen it. You've come about in such a different way. But many of you do this where you think that there's some place where you're done and it should be okay, and I'm just here and nothing's going to happen. None of that goes on. In our work, we gave you doubt is good, basically. In 2012, we wanted you to understand that you're always going to have a feeling of, am I doing it right? Is it? Yes, you are, but you also have the self-judgment. And so once you notice the self-judgment and change your mind about that, give yourself a new idea, then that goes away. And then you're living in a different dimension of who you are, and you're much better. You're doing it. That's all. You're just waiting for an endpoint, and there's no endpoint for you because there's going to be so much more. You're just in process. That's all.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Okay, I believe we are now complete.
We will leave with just one last thought. Please remember, as you are moving through these next months of your life, that what you are doing is using everything that is occurring in your world to come to understand and own who you are so that you can experience magnificent self-love. That's what's happening. We love you all so much and thank you for being in our universe. We are complete.